welcome back to the Blissful Badger and my March Madness Army Showcase Showdown. Throughout this month, we're going to look at all of my armies, and I'd like you to rate these armies on 5 criteria on a scale of 1 to 10. And then at the end of the month, we're going to tally up all of the scores and see which army is the best out of my collection. So what are these criteria? 1. The paint scheme. Is my army cohesive? What level have I painted it to? Do these colors work for this army? 2. Playability. How did I go selecting models for this army? Is this a viable army on the battlefield? 3. My reason for owning it. Do I have a good justification for owning this army? 4. Theming. How much does this army fit their lore? Have I built this army to a standard that makes sense for what the army does in the lore? And 5, conversions and customization. What conversions did I make to this army? How did I make it my own? So which army are we checking out today? Today, we're taking a look at my Kruleboyz. As anyone who collected Age of Sigmar in the past 4 years knows, Dominion was an extremely inexpensive box set. And if you wanted to have any minis to play, this was a great starter set. So as you see, I have pretty much 3 sets except for the 3rd leader. And I picked up the Beast Skewer Killbow recently. And I have barely any color on any of these models. Even my most painted mini in the collection still needs a little bit of work. Oh yeah, pot grot for the win. And I decided, why not go with a Kuleboyz scheme and do blue skin orcs. And I still have tons of models to build. I just haven't gotten around to it. And there's a reason for that. At the beginning of 2024, I knew I wanted to have 1,000 points of my Age of Sigmar armies completed and ready to go at the end of 2024 so that I could play small games. And then, during the Scaventide, well, before Scaventide was released, they mentioned that Spearhead was going to be a game system. And my work on my 1,000-point armies kind of went to the wayside. Because I realized, well, I may as well just build Spearhead armies. And so I got that ready instead, and I didn't have a Beast Skewer Killbow, and I asked for one at the game shop because they were out online almost everywhere, and I wasn't able to get one. And it actually took several months for the game shop and a new owner to get it for me. So this has been on the back burner because I just didn't have the last model I needed, and I would rather work on the whole thing all at once. I never really chose the Kruleboyz. They more chose me. Because Dominion boxes. But I'm not one to usually sell off an army that I have when it gets to a good size. And I only needed that one model to do the spearhead. So I do have plans to get that spearhead up and running, but I've also not played the spearhead game system in several months now. Between the Crusade games for 40k and the escalation that just started this month, I haven't really been working on my Age of Sigmar very much, and what I have spent time on has been the Skaven instead. So I do have a solid 2,000 or more points of Kruleboyz to build up and paint. And I do look forward to getting the spearhead together. All of those models are already magnetized. The basing. I just have to get around to painting them. But the rest of the army is really just several copies of Dominion, and not really a huge push to get these done. So I know that that is points off on justification, but, you know, I'll get them painted eventually, right? Right? Beyond getting the spearhead completed, for the future, I think that just getting everything built and painted is a great start. But with the way that Sigmar 4.0 is going, I think if I don't add 2 or 3 of the larger monsters, like the Sludge Reka or something like that, this army won't have a chance on the battlefield. And although I wouldn't mind having a Sludge Reka or 2, the Kruleboyz on their own still feel a little lacking. I know that they're part of the overall orc tribe system thing, but I'm more interested in the Kruleboyz aspect, and I don't really need leaders for my the Grotzlitas or whatever. I'm more interested in the full-size Kruleboyz. And so I don't think I'm going to add anything to the army right this moment. If I do end up getting another Beast Skewer Killbow, I could do 2 spearheads. I could theoretically do that. I don't know if that's necessary, but, thoughts. But overall, it's just not one of my priorities. And I think that's okay to have a few armies that are on the back burner just when you get a little bit tired of something and you can just work on it here and there. One of these days, maybe I'll be motivated to work on this. If you would like to see a full breakdown of my army list, there is a link to a spreadsheet in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.